Moorlands Sport Extra, the podcast, brought to you by the Moorlands Radio Sports Team and in association with Leek Building Society, awarded the UK's Best Building Society 2023.
Hello everybody and welcome to this week's edition of Moorlands Sports Extra, the podcast brought to you in association with Leek Building Society and of course as always by the sports team here at Moorlands Radio. Now first of all, apologies if my throat sounds a bit croaky. I have got the dreaded man flu. Yeah, man flu has hit myself. That's partly why we didn't do a commentary on Tuesday night, because I didn't want to be passing on man flu to the entire crowd, and certainly not to Tony, our sports editor, who would have been co-commentating with me, so I thought it was best to remain at home and contribute to the sports show that way. But anyway, Moorlands Sports Extra, the podcast brought to you in association with Leek Building Society, is here for another week, and we have got another inside our local football clubs, and this month I should say, the Inside podcast is with Leek Town. So yes, we are going to be talking about all things Leek Town FC. We're going to hear from Chairman Jon Eeles, first team manager Josh Brehaut. We're going to hear from Community and Marketing Manager Ant Bunn, and we're going to go and talk about the women's set up at Leek Town with their Director of Football, Ian Smith. So a busy show for this week's podcast, and let's get started with it. So we're going to start, as I say, with the chairman of Leek Town FC. That is Jon Eeles, and I caught up with him at the start of this week to find out what life as a chairman of Leek Town FC is like. Starting this week's podcast, and we're joined by the Leek Town chairman, Jon Eeles. Jon, thank you for your time. I know you're a massive supporter of the podcast, and you're a very busy man. Not only chairman of Leek Town Football Club, you've got your business commitments as well, so we really do appreciate your time. I think first of all, if we could start by just introducing yourself and how you got involved with Leek Town, and of course describe the role that you currently do with the football club.
Right, good evening, Rich. Thanks you've called on me for this, as if we haven't all got enough to do.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I am a supporter of what you're trying to do, and I think it's great that you spread the love a bit between all the clubs around here and get people on, and not just about the footballers and managers. You diversify it a bit, so that's very good. Right, my association with Leek Town goes back to when I was about 15, 16. My dad ran a lads and dads team. We stopped at 16. I wasn't really good enough to play Saturday football of any standard, but my friend was. He went to play for Leek CSOB, of which Neil Baker was the manager at that point. And Neil then went to be Kev Lewis's assistant at Leek Town. And he took about 3 or 4 players with him from that team, being Brian Mellor, Chris McMullen, and my friend Paul Clues, who I'd played lads and dads with. So I just started watching Paul on Saturday afternoons at Leek Town with my dad and his dad. And we did that up until he left, really, for Ashton United, which was, he was there 5 or 6 years. He got promotion with the side and played at Wembley. And then he came back for a brief spell after doing 200 appearances with Ashton as well. So I've always watched him since then. Latterly, I've been involved as a director the last 9 years. Chairman is 8. And that was really me bumping into an old work colleague of mine in a famous furniture shop in Macclesfield. Paul Bateman had just joined the board as treasurer, just recently retired. And I said, "Oh, Paul, it's great that you're down at the club." And he says, "Jon, it's hard work." He says, "There's that much to do." He says, "I could really do with some help." And I said, "Well, I'm working around this area now. I'll come down and help you a bit, because you're the best signing they've made for years, for seasons." And that was that. I was then even further, and within 18 months, I'd taken the role as chairman.
And what what would you say the role of a chairman is for this day and age? Because I think football over the last decade it's really changed not only the landscape but the day-to-day running of football clubs.
Well, primarily, regardless of what role I'd fulfilled down the club and what title, but I'm a fan. So, I kick every ball, I had every ball with them because I want us to do well. But even when I started, 8 years ago as chairman, it's changed so much. And the 18 months, 2 years we had with COVID really was a kind of defining moment for non-league football. And it changed, it changed the environment, it changed people's attitudes and what they did socially. And, although crowds are a little bit dampened this year, and that's across all levels at Step 4, all clubs, I've been speaking to different chairmen and they've seen it drop off a little bit. It really had quite a purple patch after COVID, and we just need to keep that going, really. And I think people are, they're not quite as in love with that professional football product as they were, and they want an alternative, which non-league football provides.
It does. We've seen it again this weekend, the Premier League and VAR controversy and refereeing decisions, and it's making people turn back to football. But why do you think attendances are slightly down across the whole of Step 4 this season? Because I know a couple of people have messaged me saying, why is it down at not only League but other clubs as well? I just can't put my finger on it.
Yeah. I think, discretionary spend is definitely an issue. People have been under pressure with their disposable income. I also think as we've gradually come further and further out of COVID, people have gone back to do things that they did before. So they've gone to try other things as well. And I think it's just one of them things that, probably this is the level that it's at now. And we've just got to, try and sustain it. It always helps when you're winning. If you're winning, you get a few more floating fans. So, that helps. I was very, very encouraged at the weekend where we got nearly 600. I know we were only one of 2 games on in our division, but it was absolutely perishing cold. So, to get that many people does show people still want to come and watch football, which is great. It's very encouraging.
Well, what are we now with December? Start of December, 3 months into the season. How would you sum up this season so far for Leek Town?
It's been enjoyable so far. I mean, the cup run has been a really exciting thing for the people involved at the club and the fans, because we've not had a cup run for such a long time. We did ourselves great credit when we went up to Fylde. We've had a change of manager, which I didn't envisage that happening. I always knew at some point that was going to happen, but I didn't envisage it happening this season and so early into the season as well. So, that has caused a little bit of change, not turmoil, change. But change is, sometimes a good thing. So, that change of manager has had impetus in other areas where we've changed. I think it's a very, very competitive league this year. So, we've lost 4 games already. And, we're not alone in that, even though we're just sitting top. I think it's going to go all the way to the wire. And I think come March, April, those crowd numbers will be back up if you're in the mix. And, the weather being a little bit better as well.
I think the league title, I think I said it the other day somewhere on social media, I think it could go down to literally the last kick of the final day of the season. That's how tight it is. But looking at that cup run, and it's going to live long in the memory of everyone connected with Leek Town Football Club, the players, the staff, the volunteers, and of course yourself. What was it like as a chairman of the football club, seeing you do so well, and particularly that South Shields victory, which was shown live to the world on the BBC?
Yeah, I just felt a massive sense of pride around the achievement and on the day. The crowd turned up despite it being on television. I think we had 900 people. They had a thoroughly enjoyable day, one that they'll remember a long time. And as you say, it was televised for the BBC, which was the icing on the cake, really. And I think anyone who watched that game as a neutral would understand there's not a lot of difference between our level and 2 divisions higher. It's all about consistency and the level of resource. But on your day, And if your opposition isn't quite on their game, or they take you for granted, which is what I think South Shields did a little bit. I think they took us for granted, and you can get a result, and you've seen that in the trophy as well. City, Liverpool, and Nantwich, they're having great runs.
And of course, last season you went to Chorley, and on another day you could have won that game, and I think you should have had a penalty midway through that second half.
Yeah, and for you to say that as a Chorley fan, Rich, that's you're absolutely right. I think we gave them a scare second half, and on the other day we could have had a penalty and got them back to our place, or had a penalty shootout, but it wasn't to be. So you dust yourself down and you concentrate on the league, don't you?
You certainly do. And talking about penalties, you should have had one at AFC final. I don't want to go back over old wounds, so to speak, and reanalyse games. But when you go up to AFC final, the stature, well, I'll say the stature of the club, but the size of the ground and the some of the players they've got playing there, and they've had quite a lot of media coverage, and you come away with your heads held high, and you know that the players have given the best they can for the football club, and they're painting the club in a great light. How does that feel?
That again, that was a great day, and I think the third goal we let in the last couple of minutes when we were going for it at 2-1. At 1-0, 1-1, and 2-1, there was only one team in it. They got us on a bit of a sucker punch from a dead ball, but again we gave them such a fright. It wasn't great. They changed the manager the week before. I think if the existing manager had been in, they would have lacked a lot less confidence, and we'd have had a better go at it. But it is what it is. It was a great day out. The players enjoyed it, and we need to kind of use that as a base and use that as a motivation tool for other seasons, because it doesn't have to just be a one-off. You can keep going. Marine used it very well when they played Tottenham. They've had a couple of mini runs since.
And of course, they also got promotion, I think, the season or a couple of seasons after, so used it as a starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 years ago they got promotion. They did it through the playoffs when
yes, they did. Yeah,
when Ryan got up.
Yeah, God, it was 2 years ago now. That's crazy how quick it's flown by since then. But moving to this season, as we record this, we have just had that horrible inclement weather. It's freezing cold on Saturday, as you've already said, and Leek were one of 2 games to be played in the division. How important was it then having the artificial 3G, 4G, whatever people are calling it, down to get the game going?
Well, I read a few comments on social media. That's why they've had the pitch, so they can get games on like this. That's part of the reason we've had that pitch and made the switch. The biggest reason is it's played on every night of the week and 7 days a week, and we've got all our junior teams and all community teams playing on it. But it was important we tried and got that game on. It would have been quite easy to get it called off, because it was frozen down one half of the ground, and if we'd have not done anything with that pitch from 9 a.m, it would have been deemed unplayable. But we did a gentle brush on it in the morning. I was down there 9 o'clock with about 12 other volunteers and all the staff that worked down there, and we were gently removing the frost from the area where the sun didn't get. So we had a preliminary inspection at 11, and the referee was very happy with it. He just said, yeah, it'd be a lot better than grass pitches this time of year. That's safe to play on. So from that point, it was all about making sure we'd put the pies in on time, ready for after.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something people don't actually see is when there's a pitch inspection, is that the clubs have got a team of volunteers down at the ground from near enough the crack of dawn to get that pitch in a position where a referee can say, yes, we can play the game, or even if it's unfortunate, we're not going to play it this week.
Yeah, the worst position I've been in is when I've been down to the ground at 2 o'clock. A ref turns up and he says no, it's off, because you haven't done your job properly. Then that happened to us 6-7 years ago when Lincoln came. I was away in the morning. Between me travelling to the game, we had a huge downpour of rain. And it absolutely chucked it down, which made it waterlogged and unplayable. And they travel from Lincoln, and that you don't want that to happen. That just reflects badly on yourself. So I think early pitch inspections, and you know, I've seen it when Hanley have done it, Kidsgrove have done it, Newcastle have done it. It's called off early, and you know, people on social media sometimes are disappointed and call them out. But guys, we're all volunteers. You know, we're all trying to we're trying to make it as easy as possible and professional. You don't want someone to go to unnecessary cost and trouble. So you know, you have to make those decisions early, and sometimes it'd be great to have that window of opportunity to do it at 1:30, but you can't. You've got to do it at 10:30 or 11 in the morning.
Look at Walsall on Saturday. They were in place ready to kick off at Alfreton, and it got called off, I think, with about 10 minutes before kick-off.
Absolutely, and that was farcical, really. I don't know what's gone on there, really. But for Walsall, you know, for Alfreton to get it prepared, thinking that it is playable, and they will have had referees around them or people to advise them, and then the actual referee to turn up and say, no, I'm not playing it. But, you know, it may have, in the last hour, it may have frozen and may have made it unsafe. So, you know, I've not read the full details on it. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But it was just unfortunate. It was there on live TV for everyone to see.
Yeah, I guess that is the worst way to do it. Just going back to when you first decided to put the artificial pitch in, how long did it take from you and your fellow board members and obviously other people involved in making the decision to saying, yeah, we're going to do it to the first game, which I think, remember rightly, was Newcastle Town at home in 2021?
That was the official opening, Rich. The actual first game was October 18th. That's when the pitch was handed over to us officially. So we pressed the button in November previous. So that was nearly 9 months. So that was an application to the Football Foundation, which they'd helped us with. That was signed off in January, February. A contractor was appointed by the Football Foundation, and they started work around May. Unfortunately, you know, it should have been ready for the start of August. But what happened during that period, there was shortage of materials. Material costs have gone up because of COVID. And, you know, Leek Town's luck, I think I must have run over a cat, several black cats in a previous life, luck that we have with playoffs. But our actual artificial grass surface was stuck on a slow boat, stuck in the Suez Canal. So we had to turn around and go via Holland. So that put another 2 weeks on it as well. There was some, you know, points during that 9 months where I thought, God, what have I done here? Why have I agreed to do this? Because at some points it was very stressful. I remember getting a phone call one morning from Paul Bateman and said, John, you've got to come down here. And I got down there and there was green gas coming out of the ground. And the contractors had hit the gas supply.
Oh,
and it was, honestly, it was like a science fiction film. I'd never seen anything like it. So, we got it capped off, got the gas turned off, and then I can get it repaired. So, there's hundreds of little stories like that went on in that period.
I can imagine Simmons also having the, I think you had to play, was it 3 games, 3 league games, certainly at Buxton. How vital was it having the support off Buxton to be able to stage some games there on artificial pitch so the players could get used to playing on it? And then also, on the other hand, Nantwich played their first league game of the season at Leek whilst they were finishing off their pitch.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had a good relationship with Buxton. You know, Dave Hopkins is a top guy chairman there, but that kind of cemented the relationship, and he just wanted to help other clubs as he'd been helped. So we were very grateful for that ground share. In terms of results, it was absolutely diabolical for us. I think in the 3 games we got 1 point, which probably cost us promotion that year because Rylands won it by about 4 points. And then I think because of league scheduling, we had to play something like 8 or 9 games away. We actually did really well in that period, but it did take its toll in terms of, you know, income generation and that kind of stuff. We just wanted to do the same for Nantwich when they approached us, because, you know, I'm a pragmatist. I'm absolutely a fan of playing games on grass.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm a pragmatist. These ATPs, these artificial pitches, they have a large part to play at football at our level, and allows you to be sustainable and play a lot more football on it. So I think, you've got to be a realist around it, really. There's going to be more of them going forward.
I was going to say, do you think that is the future, especially for this level of football? You really need to look at the Northern Premier League website over the weekend to see how many fixtures had the words PP next to them and not a result.
Yeah, as I say, it's not just, the football club isn't just about the first team anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. It's about the girls that play, Bowley Green that plays down there, the 25 junior teams. But you're still viewed on what happens on the first team and what happens on the Saturday. I think you've already mentioned Nantwich. Chasetown have changed from grass to artificial this year, so that's another 2 in our league. Nantwich, Chasetown, us, Avro, Widnes. There's loads, and you're going to see more and more.
Certainly are, and as you said, you've got all the events going on. So if you could just talk us through some of them, because I think you've got like walking football on a couple of times a week, and then obviously Bowley Green play there. The ladies are there on a Sunday. Of course, there's the men's first team playing there on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, we've got our development team play on Friday nights as well. They alternate with Bowley Green. They're playing in the Staffs County League Division 1. And that's been an eye-opener as well. You offer a good facility, good quality football. We're regularly getting 100 people coming down watch on Friday nights, which is, fantastic, really, and gives us another adult pathway for those junior teams playing lower down, because it's an awful big ask for a 16-year-old lad to step up into our first team without anything in the middle, really,
Certainly isn't. Just going slightly off topic on that, I think in the past the Northern Premier League have ran a reserve side. Is that something you would like to see come back to help the lads, or do you think this development team, and I know a few clubs in this area have got teams in the Staffs Counties League, is that going to be the the stopgap between the first team and, say, an under-21 side?
Yeah. I mean, there's still quite a big leap in terms of competitiveness. There's probably another stage where you get a player going play step 5, step 6 in the period to see how they are. But I definitely think there's more mileage in a localised league at that level, perhaps an under-23s league that allows you to play a couple of senior players in. I know Newcastle Town, Stafford Rangers, Chasetown would be interested in a league like that. That's probably for the county FA to step up really and suggest that.
Yeah, that would be a good idea, and it will allow players like Tim Grice, who's just coming back into the first team after his injury, to get match minutes into his legs. And of course, we'll hopefully be seeing the return of Josh Ryder very soon.
Absolutely. I mean, Tim's already played one game for the development team. He may play another before next Tuesday. We've got Hensford away in the Senior Cup next Tuesday. So if that game's on, I could see a few of our players who haven't been getting regular minutes starting that game. I don't want to give Josh's team sheet away, but that's an ideal opportunity, for those players. So yeah, absolutely, it's got its part to play.
I was going to say, because Dave Stringer always says how important the Staffs FA Senior Cup is, and historically how important it was. How important is it for Leek Town going forward, particularly this season, to get a trophy in the cabinet? And how disappointing was it last season to lose in injury time, but to a side who's now playing in Step 2 of non-league football?
Well, absolutely. There was nothing between the sides, was there? The last 5 minutes, there was a little bit of quality, which they got the goal from, and then we still had a couple of opportunities to go up the other end of the score. But yeah, that was disappointing that evening. It doesn't define your season or define what you're about, but when you've got there, you want to win, and I think we acquitted ourselves very well. We have a lousy record in the Staff Senior Cup. I think we've been in the final 5 or 6 times and only won it once. And I get reminded on a regular basis that when we did win it, Pete Ward was the manager. So you can imagine he was reminding me. He then also tells me he's won the Liverpool Senior Cup, the Lancashire Senior Cup, the Cheshire Senior Cup, and the Derbyshire Senior Cup. So that's Pete boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, at some point in time, it'd be nice, to win the Senior Cup if we got to the final again. But the league has always been our primary concern, and until we do if we do get to, because there's nothing taken for granted.
Yeah.
If we do at some point get to step 3, then the Staff Senior Cup might take a different perspective.
Certainly. So finally, we asked this to everyone, and it's time to get the old crystal ball out and look into the future. And normally I say, what do you think is going to happen in 5 years' time for our football clubs? But what are your hopes for the football club going forward into the next couple of seasons?
I'd like to think we can continue on those, firm foundations that we've built. I'd like to see us maintain those crowd levels and hopefully increase them a little bit more by still playing, entertaining football and having a welcoming environment to watch it. I'd like to think within 5 years we can get up to step 3. I think we're geared up for it off the pitch. It's just about delivering it on the pitch, and nobody has any divine right to do that. You've just got to, put your best efforts forward. I do think locally one of us is going to go up sooner or later, because there's just too many sides that are at step 4, and you almost need this. A few at step 5, a few at step 4, one at step 3. There's just too many of us at step 4 at the moment. One needs to, kind of break away and give you that different perspective locally. So that would where I would be really. And again, I'd love another cup run. I mean, I think it's no secret. I told the lads if we got to the first round properly, we go to Las Vegas, because I know Dave Stringer wanted to come with us. and that was a very real promise. I'd love to be able to do something like that for them, if they've warranted the achievement to get there.
And that's the thoughts of Leek Town chairman Jon Eeles speaking to Moorlands Radio Sport, and he makes some really interesting points about not only 3G pitches, artificial pitches, the life of a non-league football club, promotions, and of course the Staff's County Senior Cup. And we're going to turn our attentions now from the boardroom to the dugout, and we'll find Josh Brehaut there. He is the Leek Town manager, and I caught up with him to find out what life in the dugout at the F-Ball Community Stadium is like. We're joined by the Leek Town manager, Josh Brehaut. Josh, as always, thank you for your time on these podcasts. And I think it's, wow, what is it now? It's nearly half a year since you were first brought into Leek Town Football Club by the old manager, Neil Baker. So if you could just remind listeners how you came to joining the football club, first of all.
Yeah, hi Rich, and thanks again for having me on. I spoke to Neil over the summer last season during the off season, and we had a discussion about some changes that were going to be made in the backroom team, and he'd heard that I was keen to get back involved, having had a few years obviously outside of non-league football, and when the opportunity presented itself to come and have a conversation and meet Neil in person, meet with the chairman in person, see what the club was all about. Obviously I knew from afar, but really getting into the club and seeing the infrastructure and the ambition, of course, that it's got, it was a really attractive proposition. So you're right, it's flown by really. To think that started 6 months ago is crazy. So obviously come in, we had a really good pre-season with the lads. The players are absolutely spot on. We've got an incredible group here at the club, and I've been really lucky, obviously, inheriting that since taking the role on. But an amazing group of players, amazing people behind the scenes who put in so much work. Last week was a prime example. To be able to get that game on last week against Hensford when the rest of the league was called off was a massive plus for us, and there was so much work that went on behind the scenes to make that possible. Amazing volunteers. So it's a really good club, and I feel very, very lucky to be a part of it right now.
I was going to say the work of the volunteers to get that game on. It's just the life of non-league football is the hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears that non-league football gets put in from the volunteers. Does that then make you want the players to perform to their peak, to give them something back as a reward and a thank you for all the hard work in getting games like last Saturday on?
Yeah, definitely. And again, any game takes a lot of work, and probably I only really appreciated that once I started in the managerial role, because you become more involved in actually seeing and hearing what goes into a match day operation. So yeah, every single game that we manage to put on is a real team effort. And yeah, absolutely, it's always at the forefront of my mind that, you know, we want to try and perform for the supporters, but you know, the volunteers, the people who are involved in the club, and, you know, put in so much time and effort. You know, they deserve every success that the players are able to, you know, to get for them.
As I say, you were handed the manager's job after Neil left at end of August, beginning of September. Were you surprised by Neil's departure, and did it shock you how quickly it happened, you taking on the manager's job so soon after joining the football club?
Yeah, really shocked me. Obviously, I came in on the premise, you know, of wanting to learn from Neil, and I certainly did that. Even in the short time that we spent together, I learned an awful lot. And of course, you know, my ambition, as I've said to you in the past, was to manage at some stage. I didn't ever think that it would be with a club of the size of Leek Town at that point. And obviously that opportunity presented itself, and it came as a massive shock when Neil obviously chose to leave. But you know, completely respected his decision, and again, I, you know, can't thank the board enough for entrusting me with that opportunity, because, you know, it would have been perceived as a huge risk. There will have been a lot of people on the outside looking at that having been so secure and consistent over a 6-year period, that, you know, there would have been a lot of people that would have had a lot of interest in coming in. So for the board to trust me as quickly as they did and go, "We want you to do it," was incredibly empowering for me. And yeah, I'll never forget that, and that's something that, again, is always very, very much on my mind when it comes to you know, trying to repay them with every game that we play.
Do you think it worked in your favour? You were sort of thrown into the deep end to be into the management job, and at such a high level of non-league football, rather than, say, working your way up through the North West Counties League or the Midlands Football League?
Yeah, definitely, because, as I mentioned, we've got an incredible group of players, both as players, but first and foremost as human beings. So the fact that they've completely bought into what I'm about, and what, you know, was a management team we're looking to try and do, I feel, you know, very fortunate for. And again, as we've already alluded to, the way that the club is ran off the pitch, you know, it runs within its means. You know, the chairman's incredibly diligent and, you know, does things properly. You know, got a real strong team off the pitch as well, with obviously Tom as the club sec, and all the people that are involved. It's a really, really well-run football club. And yeah, you know, to be given that opportunity as my first role, with no real pedigree as a manager, is something that I'm really, really grateful for. And yeah, like you said, you know, going in at a lesser level is sometimes very, very hard to showcase what you're about when maybe that infrastructure just isn't there.
And what's the difference between coaching at this level and managing? Because obviously you've had a short spell with Leek. You've also had a couple of years over, I think, a couple of spells at Kidsgrove Athletics, so you know this level quite well.
Yeah, I think the main difference really is obviously the level of interaction that you have off the pitch, both with players, but also with other key stakeholders. So, you know, there's always something going on as the manager, whether that's dealing with external people, you know, from other clubs, you know, whether that's discussing potential player acquisitions, or talking about opposition teams that are upcoming, and trying to get some insight into them from other managers, in addition to obviously the regular interaction that you have with the chairman. So yeah, that's sort of a key difference. And obviously the the importance of managing the players' expectations and obviously those that aren't in the team and making sure that they stay happy. All of that is a massive add-on from obviously what I was doing before.
Certainly. So, and just touching on getting information on the opposition, non-league football, I mean, a few years ago was perceived as you didn't get any information out there. Now it's completely changed. Everyone's got a VAO camera, or they have the games filmed professionally, obviously the social media. Do you think even in your short spell of working in non-league football across both clubs it's changed?
Yeah, 100%, because when I was working at Kidsgrove previously under Ryan, we did as much as we possibly could to try and plan for the opposition and look into what was out there. But that was very much done through social media platforms, which very often were just showing highlights, and you're having to work off of that really to try and form your knowledge of the opposition, as well as obviously the conversations that you have with other managers, which again wasn't something I was tasked with at that stage. Whereas now, like you said, there's a lot more access to opposition stuff, and we do so much work behind the scenes to try and be as well planned as we possibly can. Sometimes that is hard. There's not every single opponent are you able to get as much on as you are for others. But yes, certainly it's advanced a lot over the last few years. And, we've spoken in the past about trying to run as a professional, semi-professional club. There's a lot that goes in behind the scenes to preparing for each game.
And you certainly feel that the professional side to being a semi-professional club with Leek Town, with everything that goes on, right from the top with Jon Eeles, the chairman, right down to the players, the volunteers, the stewards, and everyone else in between. So you do get that feel. But looking at results, since you took over as manager, by and large, they've been really good. You've had an FA Cup run, currently top of a very competitive league. You must be pleased with how your management career has started.
Yeah, really pleased. We're certainly not getting carried away because we know that we've not even played half the games yet, and of course after Saturday we might not be top of the league anymore because we're playing Prescott, who are naturally one place below us. But yeah, to be where we are at this stage is really pleasing, particularly given the FA Cup run, because naturally that put us so far behind with the number of games that we'd played compared to the rest of the league. And there was a time at the end of September when we played South Shields that we were actually 15 points away from Kidsgrove at the time, who were top of the league. So, that to have clawed that gap back in such a short space of time is really pleasing. But you're absolutely spot on. The league is so competitive that within a couple of games, obviously we had a little bit of a blip over a 4 or 5 game spell where we didn't quite get the number of points on the board we'd have wanted. And if we have another spell like that, naturally we'll find ourselves outside of the playoff position. So that is how harsh the league is in terms of the competitive nature of it. But at the same time, that can also provide its own benefits in some ways, because obviously other clubs can play against other teams at the bottom end of the league who in any normal season you'd expect them to win and gain 3 points, and that it just isn't a given at this level. So I'm sure this league is going to continue to be topsy-turvy, particularly with the Christmas period coming up, when, as everybody knows, there are often some strange results that get thrown about during that Christmas spell.
Certainly so, and you've got 2 local derbies over Christmas. Newcastle at home on Boxing Day, and then you go to your old club Kidsgrove Athletic on New Year's Day. How important is it to try and get the lads to act professionally and sensibly during that week? Because obviously it's most time of the year where people go out celebrating and what have you, but the fans are all going to want to be taking 6 points off the two sides of the course. Newcastle fans and Kidsgrove fans will want to claim victories over Leek on those games.
Yeah, and the players want that as well. So I don't even have to tell the players about the importance of them preparing properly. I think there's a real trust placed in what they do and how they operate. Ultimately, I'm not going to start telling them and dictating what they can and can't do. They know their bodies better than me. They'll live their lives and will have planned and prepared to play over the Christmas period on numerous occasions, particularly the senior lads. So, yeah, maybe with some of the younger ones, we may have to guide and encourage them to make the right choices. But I've got no concerns of a mature group, and we have real strong leadership within that group. So I've got absolutely no doubts whatsoever that the players will be preparing for those games in the right manner, and I'm sure that will be that will give us a psychological edge as well.
So that's the thoughts of Leek Town manager Josh Brehaut about his tenure so far in the dugout at Leek Town FC, and I do wish Josh all the very best in his tenure at the football club, because he's a fantastic guy to talk to. I do enjoy talking to Josh, as I do enjoy talking to all of our local managers. I was put on the spot back in pre-season asking who's the best manager to talk to, and I struggled to find one manager to name, because they all love talking to us and they're all honest and very generous with their time, so I thank them all for that.
Moorlands Sport Extra, the podcast, brought to you by the Moorlands Radio Sports Team and in association with Leek Building Society, awarded the UK's Best Building Society 2023. The Classic Hits Chart.
We're compiling a very special listener chart, and we need your help. We're looking for your favourite 2 pop songs from the last 70 years. It can be any 2 songs from any of the last 7 decades. To tell us yours, go to our website, moorlandsradio.co.uk. Then listen in to our very special listener chart, where we'll count down your favourite songs on Boxing Day from 10 a.m.
All the best tunes and some big memories. This is Tony Mullins with the Classic Hits Chart.
Tony's playing your favorite hits.
Moorlands Sport Extra, the podcast, brought to you by the Moorlands Radio Sports Team and in association with Leek Building Society, awarded the UK's Best Building Society 2023.
Welcome back to Moorlands Sports Extra, the podcast brought to you by the sports team at Moorlands Radio and, of course, in association with Leek Building Society. And we're going to continue this week's feature on Inside Leek Town FC, and we're going to go from the playing side to the community side of the football club. And we're going to speak now with community and marketing manager Ant Bunn to learn about his role within the club and, of course, the wider Leek community. We're joined by Leek Town's community and marketing manager Ant Bunn. Ant, thank you for your time, and how are you finding your role as community and marketing manager at Leek Town FC now? We're 2 months since your appointment to the position.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's been great. It's as you know, it's a great football club, a really big part of the community, and I think every day has been a huge learning curve. Someone who's played sport at a decent standard for a lot of their life, but you still kind of don't understand what goes on behind the scenes. Like I say, every day is a school day. So the role is it's multi-encompassing, and to be honest, the chairman's been really good with regards to letting me kind of put my own initiatives in place and whatever, and doing what I think needs doing and being strategic. So really exciting. Like I say, it's at the end of the week as well, it's one of those few jobs where at the end of the week there's actually there's a game involved as well, which kind of impacts on your job as well. So I've been a Stoke fan all my life, but I've been watching League for the last 10 years or so, and I'm kind of doubly nervous on a Saturday and Tuesday night now. So no, it's been fantastic, to be honest, really enjoyable.
How important is it for a club like Leek Town to have someone going out in the community, because naturally people will look to see who is the Football League sides and they'll go support them, but rather we'll just want them going down to the F-Ball Community Stadium when they can and cheering on Leek Town.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important, and we're very lucky in a way that this role has arisen. Other clubs of a similar size don't have this role. So it's testament again to the chairman and the football club that they've had the vision in a way to see the importance of community and marketing. Like you say, football clubs are the hub of the community, and none more so in kind of towns the size of Leek, where it's really important that the community comes into the football club throughout the week, and also the club goes into the community, because at the end of the day, that's what football and sport is about. It's about connecting with local people and building those relationships. And we see some clubs going to the wall nowadays, struggling to make ends meet. COVID obviously hit a lot of clubs hard, it's probably doubly important now that clubs listen to the community as well, not just go out and bring the community in, but to listen to what they've got to say and what they want as well. So that's my job, is to it's kind of to build a bridge between not just Leek but the people of Staffordshire Moorlands to the football club, and that involves far more than football.
Also, you mentioned being the Staffordshire Moorlands, and Leek are really the premier side of the Staffordshire Moorlands. There's not too many, certainly in the pyramid, that come from the Staffordshire Moorlands. Obviously, you've got in the Counties League, you've got CSOB, Leek CSOB, of course, and Ball Hay Green. Do you think that gives you a slight advantage in bringing people in if they want to watch a non-league game? You're not having to compete, say, like Newcastle Town and Hanley and Kingsgrove. No disrespect to them, but they've got to compete against each other to bring them in.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. We've got a very large geographical area to cover, and obviously we want to get. We obviously have focused in the past, and also still focusing on the town of Leek. It's a reasonably sized populated town, but obviously Staffordshire Moorlands is a huge area, and part of my role after Christmas will be kind of getting out a little bit further afield, but also finding out, where people are coming in, coming to the club from. Is it just some Leek, etc.? So I will be contacting season ticket holders and ticket holders to find out about their kind of, not so much the match day experience, but what they feel about the club in general, to be honest. We spoke a lot about how we are obviously the clues in the title, Leek Town. We are the town's football club, but also how we need to embrace getting as many people in the ground, not just on match days, but throughout the week as well, to use the facilities as possible. Like you say, we're the biggest club within quite a large area, so we are very lucky in that respect. And that, I'm one of those kind of people who always looks at the positive side of things anyway, to be honest. So I see it as a real opportunity to build connections and relationships with people from far outside Leek.
You've got quite a bit going on, and this certainly started since your time being involved with the club. I think obviously they had Chris, the lunch club, I think, which is returning. There's a food bank collection going on at the next home game. I think there was some maths club or something I seem to remember seeing. Is that sort of the things you're looking to do away from the football, involving the football club?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously we want gates on a Saturday, home gates, to be as big as possible and people following us, and that's great. But it's a great facility, and a town the size of Leek, towns the size of Leek don't have as good a ground as we have. Never mind the pitch being fantastic, but obviously the clubhouse, and we've also got other function rooms as well. So my role is to get the club used as much as possible throughout the week. So like you say, we've had stuff like on a weekly basis. We have Approach Dementia. That's today. That's happening right now. In fact, we have a monthly lunch club. Next one's 19th of December. We do Multiply, which is based at adult learning, adults helping kids with their maths. We have, like you say, we've got a food bank collection a week on Saturday, where we're looking for all spectators, if possible, to bring something to help the Leek and District Food Bank. Tomorrow we're hosting a number of youth groups and the local police, just talking about how we can put positive things on for youngsters and Leek. 24 Doors, which is really popular and has just started the art Christmas advent calendar. That will be culminating on the 24th on Christmas Eve at Leek Town Football Club with hopefully as many people as possible having a good old sing-song at 4 o'clock. So, we're going into schools, social media, as we're trying to get as big a reach as possible. We're looking into grants and funding. I'm going after this, after the podcast now, I'm going to speak to someone in regards to getting some funding and grants into the football club. The academy's been set up and looking to start from September. And so there's tons on, absolutely tons on, and there will be tons on as well. So it's a kind of watch this space. I'm mindful that whilst we do quite a lot, we can always do more, and that's what we want. So if your listeners have got any ideas with regards to events we can host or initiatives we can start up, please get in touch with me. That's exactly what I'm here for.
Before we move on, where can people get in contact with you?
Okay, if they email me at commercial@leektown.co.uk, or my phone number is 07507 261 877.
So we'll certainly give them out again at the end of the podcast. But I guess with all the stuff's going on, it kind of works hand in hand with the first team and getting people through the gates, because people know that Leek Town are there. I'm from up in Lancashire originally, and I didn't know that my town team, there was a non-league team in my town until I started going playing for the soccer school, and there was events held there before, and I guess if I'd known, I might have gone earlier.
Yeah, definitely. It's we live in a digital age where social media is massive, but a lot of people have not got social media. So that's why I've been getting out and about and Leek as much as I can. We put a monthly poster up now in public areas to let people know what's going on, not just the matches, like I said, but any event that's taking place at the football club. Obviously, we want to, keep developing the relationship we have with yourselves with regards to the radio and basically just getting the word out there that, that we're about far more than football. The FC at the end can be football club, but it can also be for the community as well, because that's what we're there for. Without the community, we are nothing. And so that's what is at the back of everything I do. Like I say, the last 2 months have gone so, it's two and a half months now have gone so quickly, but I'm really, really excited about not only what's going on the pitch, but also what's going off it as well.
And finally, we see school kids these days, and that's where a lot of football clubs, they try and target to bring the next generation of supporters in. We see them wearing PSG kits, Manchester City kits. Goodness knows who else. They seem to change every year what kits they want to wear. How important is it to get them wearing a Leek Town kit when they're out in the town or playing the football and coming down to watch Leek Town FC?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge because they're the football supporters. They are the football players even of the future at Leek Town. And that's why I've already had meetings with schools with regards to hosting tournaments and matches, etc. We're going to put some numeracy and literacy kind of days on for youngsters next year to come down to the stadium and not just use the facilities, but to actually do some lessons within the facility as well. So it's education in a different setting. Take them out to their not comfort zone, but their usual setting. But we have as you'll know, we have a thriving setup with regard to junior teams within Leek, and that's fantastic. And I had my week's full of meetings. I had a meeting with one of the main men yesterday from that. Loads of positive stuff and ideas coming from that, and it's a really, really exciting time. Not only for the football club, but for the town. I live just outside the town, and every time I go up, it kind of makes me proud to see so many people about on a daily basis. The footfall, the pubs and the bars and the restaurants doing really well. The light switch on the other week, which was absolutely packed. And so it's a very, very exciting time. And hopefully we can finish, we can go up this year if possible. No pressure on Josh and the lads, but if we did, that would I think it'd have a fantastic galvanising effect on the town. And it's I know they're doing their level best, but it's obviously a really, really, I think it's more competitive this year than ever, that league. And it will, like I say, we might be top at the minute, but there's a long way to go. But I know that, when I speak to Josh and I see the players, they've got a fierce determination to do well.
And as always, finally for this week's podcast, we're going to talk women's football. And not a lot of people know that Leek Town have a very successful women's setup within the football club. They play at step 4 in the women's game, and if you're going to equivalent it to the men's, that is League 2. So that's how high they are in the women's game when you compare it to where the men's first team are essentially. But I caught up with Ian Smith, Director of Football at Leek Town Ladies, to get an insight into what life is like at Leek Town Ladies. We're joined by Ian Smith, Director of Football at Leek Town Ladies. Ian, thank you for your time, and I think first of all you can explain to our listeners who haven't heard of Leek Town Ladies just who you guys are, where you play, what leagues you've got teams in, because it's a very successful setup at Leek Town Ladies.
Yes, we started about 12 years ago with an under 12 and under 14 team. The under 14s became the ladies team. They were very successful at under 16s, winning the treble. So we put them in the ladies leagues. We've now got the ladies first team in the Women's National League. That's Tier 4 in England. The ladies reserves are in Regional League, Tier 6 in English football, and several age group teams behind them. So there's a decent pathway through.
So being in step Tier 4 of the women's game, that's what 4 off the Women's Super League, which I think is a fantastic achievement. I think it's higher than all teams in the local area apart from Stoke, and it's something the town should be proud of how high the ladies' team is.
Yeah, Stoke play Tier 3, which is one above, but Leek ladies at Tier 4 are actually 4 tiers higher than the men's pyramid, but there are more steps on the men's pyramid, obviously. So yes, it's a good achievement over the period of time that they've been going. Like I say, about 10 years.
Certainly. So, how has this success happened? Because obviously you've got to climb the leagues to get there, haven't you?
Yeah. They had 4 or 5 promotions in about 7 years. That got them to the top end of the regional leagues, and then we were lucky enough to get into the Women's National League, which is very, very tough. Well, that's the equivalent to League 2 in men's sort of thing.
So and what's the aims for the next few years? Is it to try and get into step 3, or are you content to be where you are and try and develop players to go and play potentially for England one day?
Well, the problem, of course, is right through has been the recognition of women's football. It's getting there now. Finance is finally coming in. There's decent FA Cup payments, etc. So all the big club teams will end up at the top. All the teams with money now. Tier 3 would be a big ask for Leek, but obviously that's what we are aiming for. We're competing against other badge clubs with a lot more finances than Leek have, but we do okay.
So you mentioned the FA Cup, and obviously we see the big teams compete and win it at Wembley, but people will forget that Leek Town are one of the teams that compete in it as well.
We got to first round proper this time. Winnings for that used to be around £500 or £600, and now it's £5,000 or £6,000 sort of thing. So a little bit more money is coming into the game.
I think that is partly due to the success of the Lionesses we've seen over the last couple of years, and we know what the impact it's had nationally. But for Leek Town Ladies, has it helped having that sort of guiding light from the top of the game?
It certainly helps at the young age group end, because obviously young girls watch England playing and want to get into football, so they come into it at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and that increases the strength of the bottom end of the pyramid, and eventually that'll feed through to the top end.
And finally, where can we, if people want to come and watch Leek Town Ladies, whereabouts do you play, and if you could promote some of your upcoming fixtures?
The first team and the reserve team play at F-Ball Community Stadium, 3 p.m. on a Sunday. The first team are away up to Christmas now, but the reserves have got their home game this Sunday and next Sunday, 3 p.m. kickoff.
That's the thoughts of Ian Smith, Director of Football at Leek Town Ladies. And if you are looking for a couple of games to go to before Christmas, then get yourself down to the F-Ball Community Stadium on the Sundays he mentions. That's Sunday the 10th of December and Sunday the 17th of December. And you'll be able to find all the information on social media. Leek Town FC's Twitter feed will have information. Leek Town Ladies have got their own Twitter feed at Leek Town Ladies. It's on the club website as well. And hopefully in 2024, Moorlands Radio Sport will be able to... and hopefully in the new year, Moorlands Radio Sport will be able to provide more coverage on Leek Town Ladies. So we'll hopefully, coming into the new year, we'll be able to provide more coverage of them for you and give them the support and coverage that the ladies set up deserve. But that's all we've got time for on this week's podcast. My thanks to Ian, John, Josh and Ant for coming on and giving us an insight into life at Leek Town Football Club. We'll be back for the start of January. Not too far away now, isn't it, with another Inside. Next week will be a usual podcast, and probably the week after we'll have a bit of a Christmassy themed podcast before taking a break over the Christmas period. But we'll be back on Saturday on the Saturday Sports Show in association with Leek Building Society from 2 p.m. We've got live commentary from Prescott Cables. Well, we're hoping to bring live commentary because there is already been announced a pitch inspection at Prescott Cables for Saturday, so keep your eye on social media. If not, I'm at Lincoln United with Congleton Town in their Isuzu FA Vars clash, and we'll keep you up to date with all the goings on in their games for Kidsgrove Athletic, Hanley Town. Well, that's a 1 p.m. kick-off at Witton Albion. Don't forget, guys, Newcastle Town, Nantwich Town have their FA Trophy tie with York, of course, Buxton, Abbey Horton United, All Sager Town and Sandbach United. And of course, Stone Alderlanians, not forgetting them in the Midlands Football League. We'll be back next week with the normal podcast. We'll then probably have a Christmas-themed podcast as we look back on 2023 and look ahead to 2024. We'll take a break over the Christmas week for this podcast. We'll have a rest, and then we'll be back in the first week of January with another big podcast looking back over the Christmas period. And then we will do another Inside, another feature of Inside, and we'll pick a team for you to go and go behind the scenes. So that'll be interesting to see. I've not decided who we're going to have yet, but I'll make a decision in the next week or so. But remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Moorlands Sports 1. We're on Facebook, Moorlands Radio Sport, Instagram, Moorlands Radio Sport, YouTube, Moorlands Radio Sport. You can get in contact with us on any of them channels, plus email at sport@moorlandsradio.co.uk. And of course, you can listen to us on a Tuesday from 7 p.m. and a Saturday from 2 p.m. on 103.7 FM, 97.3 FM, DAB, on the app and online at www.moorlandsradio.co.uk. And of course, we're on the likes of TuneIn, Radio Player, how you listen to your radio shows. That is where you can find us. But for now, thank you for your time.
Moorlands Sport Extra, the podcast, brought to you by the Moorlands Radio Sports Team and in association with Leek Building Society, awarded the UK's Best Building Society 2023.